a soldier, an airman, and a Marine walk into a room. This show is The Punchline. My name is Ryan Smeltz, and you're watching Veteran Talk Show.
If you have virgin ears, don't listen.
If you are
easily offended, don't listen.
You're thinking about joining the military, but don't want to know what negative repercussions.
You don't want to listen to a bunch of former shitbags talk. Like, we are not the ones that did 20 years. Like I served with some hot shit Marines. And, those guys were badass. And, if they listened to this, they'd be like, God, that dude was such a shitbag. I'm like, yeah, it was. I came home from, I tell everybody, it's like, I came home from Afghanistan, my boots went off and my skates went on. Anything I could do to get out of anything, I did. And as soon as I was allowed to check out of BAS, I checked out of BAS. And I did it. I checked out of BAS 3 months before I took terminal. And they would look at me and be like, hey, we need, Humvee drivers for hump, or we, need to range safety officers or whatever, and all you EAS guys can do it. And I would be like, nope, I already checked out of BAS. Here's my checkout sheet with the BAS already signed off on it. Because I knew one of the chiefs in the BAS, and he was like, I was like, hey, bro, can you sign this for me and send my records over?
What's BAS?
Battalion Aid Station.
Okay.
So it's like our medical. So each battalion has their own aid station. So when you have health issues or something, you go to BAS first, and if they can't fix you, they either send you to a doctor or whatever.
So it sounds like it's our sick call.
Yeah, it's sick call. That's what it is.
We
just called it BAS.
We had Battalion Aid Station, but we just said Battalion Aid Station. So now that you say it, I'm like, wonder why the Army never got to that point. BAS.
Because you're fucking weird.
Probably because we were MPs and BAS was basic allowance for separate rations.
Oh, I don't.
Food.
I don't. We call those comrades.
Comrades.
Commissionary rations or whatever.
Huh.
I think. I don't know. And then you had BHA or BHS, which was basis.
We had BAH.
BAH, that's it.
Basic allowance for housing.
Yeah, base assisted housing is what ours was.
Huh.
Is what they called it.
Interesting.
Only married Marines got that, or NCOs who lived off base.
Married or depending on post policy, but usually E6 and above.
Ours was, I think, E5. You could live off bases in E5, E4.
Well,
E5.
you can't get. This is fun. You can't get E6 as an E1 just like that, but you can marry the stripper.
I knew plenty of guys who married a stripper. Those were contract marriages, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you say that, but if you're an E2 and you get married for the purpose of the BAH, if you're not signing a document that is like, this is only for the extra money, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You not only can you not get busted for the contract marriage, but it's not actually a true contract marriage. Especially when she thinks that it's supposed to be real, even though you guys met 2 days ago.
Yeah, I knew guys who did. I knew guys who did stupid shit. I had one dude who was one of my boots who married his high school sweetheart. He was 18, joined. He's 17 or 18 when he joined. Before our first deployment, he married the chick he dated in high school, and I'm like, you're a fucking idiot, dude. And his first deployment was my last deployment, which was Afghanistan. And we didn't get computers a lot, but when someone would go back for whatever reason, you could get on Facebook or whatever, or we had satellite phones, so we could call home. So we one satellite phone for the whole company.
Yeah.
So he'd call people back home and stuff, and he'd be like, dude, your wife is doing all this crazy shit. He's like, so then he somehow made it back to Dwyer. I think it was Dwyer. He went up to Dwyer for something, and he got on Facebook, and he saw his wife in Vegas with a bunch of dudes sitting in hot tubs and shit, and he's getting, and then he looked at his bank account, and he had $3 in it or some shit.
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, told you, shouldn't have gotten married. Yeah,
strikes again.
Jody. Yeah, Jody was there.
Oh.
And I looked at him,
All the Jodies.
All the Jodies. Like run Jody train up in that bitch.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah,
7, 8.
yeah. So he comes back. He's like, man, this is towards the end. And I was on the Advon party.
That's it. I think it's even worse. Like, it's one thing. Okay, so I've been married twice. Most people know that. The first one was in
You've been married
theory,
twice?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so like I said, most people.
Most people know. I didn't know that. I've known you for a little while now, and I didn't know you were married twice.
Yeah. So the first one, I don't consider it a contract marriage, but it was definitely for the money. And when I say that, I don't mean that I wasn't intending to make it work, because I was.
Yeah.
But I was doing a side job, like trying to pay rent on this apartment we had.
Yeah.
And the people that I was working for a friend's parents who they got a death benefit. It was 2008. I didn't realize this. It was 2008, 2009 when the housing market crashed. They were picking up foreclosures for $10,000 a pop.
They made some money.
Yeah. They live here in North Carolina, maybe an hour south of here. I want to say maybe Spring Lake. They own somewhere around 10 properties in Louisiana. They flipped them and then rented them out, and they have someone else manage. So that was their retirement. I want to say they were in real estate most of their life. So they just did that and then income on autopilot. And yes, $10,000 a pop, and then, a little bit of money to flip it. So they pay me $10 an hour to go in there and, change light bulbs and paint and shit like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing this because I need the money to pay rent. And they're like, why don't you just get married?
That's what everybody. So when I met my now wife, I met my wife between Iraq and Afghanistan, between deployments.
Is she from here?
No, she's from, as I like to call it. So anyone from Buffalo is going to hate this. She's from Buffalo, but I call her Canadian. She's pretty much a Canadian. She's from Amherst, which is like a suburb of Buffalo. Like, look, man, Buffalo is right there. It's right there. It's right, like you cross the Niagara River, you're in Canada. Like, there's parts of Buffalo where I can stand on one side of the Niagara River and with like a 5-iron hit a golf ball into Canada. Like,
so your wife's Canadian.
She's Canadian. She's like, yeah, Canadian. We used to cross that's where we would go. Like, she's like, that's where we would go and get all of our medicine. We just crossed the border because they have shit up there in Canada that we don't have Shameless. Here. Yeah,
I've seen Shameless.
Oh, is that Shameless?
He goes. That's not the entire premise of the show, but he goes up there to get.
Oh yeah. That like
what is he? Well, he goes up there to get something, and then everybody else is like, "Well, get this one."
Yeah. Oh yeah. There. People up there do it. Like, there's I think a quick pass you can get if you're a resident that you can cross the border pretty easily.
So she got one.
Yeah. Oh, her whole family has one. Like, so her grandfather's like 97 years old.
Yeah.
And is on a lot of medication. I mean, he's sharp as a tack. Love the guy. But like when he's got to go get medicine, his live-in nurse or one of his kids drives over to Canada. It takes them like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And they go and get a bunch of like over-the-counter stuff that they can't normally get in the U.S.
Yeah.
Like her mom will go up there every so often and get stuff, and like Thermoflu or I think that's
Theraflu?
The name. I don't know what it is. Neocitrin. That's the name. Neocitrin. So neocitrin is like it's like a tea. It's like BC powder you put in hot water, but it's flavored. It's like citrus flavored. And when you're sick, you drink that and it knocks you the fuck out. I think it's got like codeine or something in it. Like it. Yeah, you remember that old SNL skit with Chris Farley where he takes like the Hyperquil or whatever? You ever seen that? That shows how old I am. It's old.
That's old.
And he's like, you'll fall asleep for an entire season. You'll have many different colds that pass and go, like come and go as you sleep, but you won't care because you will be asleep. That's what this stuff. Like, I'll drink one of them. Like if I'm get like a head cold or something, you have like 3 or 4 boxes of this shit, and I put it in some hot water and drink it because you can't get it here in the U.S. But like they go over the border and get it in Canada because it's over the counter up there, and her mom, like when we go up, we get a box from her and stuff, and we drink it. And I'm just like, it'll put you down. It'll knock your ass out. Like I'm like, oh, the first time I drank, I'm like, oh, I'm a big dude. It's not going to do anything. I drank it, and I'm not a big tea drinker, and like within 20 minutes, I'm like on the couch, just like, I'm just assed out, man. It was awesome. But yeah, so she's from up there. So we met between deployments, and then at first we were just like, oh well, we're not. She was like, I'm not dating a Marine. That's fucking stupid. Like I was like, I don't blame you. I'm not dating a girl because I'm going to Afghanistan. Like, and you know, it just kind of it happened, and we stayed in touch through Afghanistan, and came home. She was there when I got off the bus, and everyone's like, oh, you're going to get married now.
She
like,
wasn't in Vegas.
Yeah, she wasn't in Vegas. Well, we had that long talk. I was like, we can break up if you want, or she's like, no, I'm good. Like, okay. I mean, it's up to you. Just don't send me a Dear John letter. That's all I ask. Yeah.
Because my name's Joe.
Because my name's but she, but everybody, like when we started dating between Iraq and Afghanistan, all my buddies were like, dude, just go get fucking married.
Yeah.
Just make bank. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting married to make money. Like, she lives in Raleigh. I'm in Jacksonville. I go home on the weekends. It's fine. Like, whatever. And so then we came home. Everyone's like, all right, you survived Afghanistan. Now are you going to get married? I'm like, no, we're going to like live together first. And she was the same way. And then we got out of the Marines and we moved to Denver, and everyone's like, fuck, dude, get married for Christ's sake. And we lived in Denver for we ended up getting married while we lived in Denver because we were up there for almost 6 years. And so that's where I went to college. And finally,
so you're like, well, we're still here.
Yeah.
So.
I was like, well, we've made it this far. Yeah, so we got engaged and got married and been married ever since. But like, I knew so many guys who would be like, I met this chick, I met this great stripper at the Driftwood and we're going to get married. I'm like, yeah. Dude, what is wrong with you?
She likes me.
Yeah.
She likes me.
No, she doesn't. She likes your money. Like, I remember the night we came home from, I don't know if it was that night. I think it might have been that night we came home from Iraq. And pretty much my whole platoon went to the Driftwood and opened and closed that fucking bar. Dang. That strip club. Like, it opened at like 6 or 7 and we were there. And it was like a Tuesday. And like the strippers got on their cell phones like, unit just came home from deployment, and then bringing in like, they're like, all it's like
friends.
Yeah, the farm club's getting called in. Like, yo, yeah, they came in, and I mean, we spent some money there.
Yeah,
one of my buddies from South Boston, he got into a fight with a stripper, which was hilarious, all because she was from Jersey. I don't know what the whole, like, I just remember him yelling at her and be like, you're from fucking Jersey. Like, I can't do a South Boston accent. And she's like, fuck you, you masshole, or whatever. And like, they were just yelling at each other. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? He comes over, he's like, fucking people from Jersey. And I'm like, okay, cool, I guess. I don't know. I was like, isn't so-and-so from Jersey? He's like, yeah, fuck that guy too. And I'm like, he's one of your best friends. What the fuck? I was like, yeah, he's still a fucking dick.
It's a weird thing to get mad about.
Yeah, it was really weird.
We did that.
I think it's because he was hitting on her and trying to get something from her, and she was not having it.
Yeah.
She was like, no.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and he just got pissed about it. And he just latched onto the Jersey thing.
This is what upsets me now.
Yeah. You know what really grinds my gears?
Yeah. We did that, so it wasn't deployment, because, man, I don't remember. The one thing I remember is we got back. So, of course, we went to Germany because the plane was broke. So we were there for 3 days, and we weren't supposed to drink because of General Order number 1. We weren't supposed to drink. So we got plastered, playing cards and stuff like that, whatever. Then the plane got fixed, we come back, and then they were like, hey, I want to say they kept us on dry status for a week because they were like,
"Oh fuck, no, they couldn't do that with us.
We don't want you going out here and consuming 15 months of alcohol." And now, fun fact: I turned 21 and 22 in Iraq, so I didn't.
You were there that long?
15 months.
Jesus.
So we deployed the end of July, and my birthday's in August.
So was mine. I turned 24 in Iraq, but our deployments were only 7 months long. But we didn't go home on leave or anything.
We know. The Bush administration extended ours.
Oh,
the Bush administration made Army deployments 15 months for a short period.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so I deployed in 2007, right at the end of his presidency, so it was still in effect. Now, like I told you before, the nice thing about that is they didn't have time to rewrite the regs, and Obama changed it, so we got an extra $1,000 for every month we were there past 12 months.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty nice. We got a little extra money, but 21 and 22. So I actually didn't take R&R until 12 months in. I was already 22 when I came back, and then of course 18 days of R&R, go back on deployment. Then we got back, and they were like, "Don't drink."
How does that work when you're not going? Because when we deployed, like we deployed as a whole unit. So like charter plane came in.
Yep.
The entire battalion was like separated on like 1 or 2 flights, maybe 2 or 3 flights, maybe 4. I don't really remember.
And a whole battalion, probably.
Yeah, like it was a couple of flights, but we all left on these charter planes. Flew to like for Iraq, we flew to Kuwait.
Yeah.
And then we changed over to like C-130s, and then flew into.
So you spent no time in Kuwait.
I think we spent like 12 hours, maybe
Oh shit!
12 hours.
We were there for 2 weeks. They were like, "You got to learn this hold." So when you handle, it was funny. We spent 2 weeks in Kuwait training on mission specific tactics, techniques, and procedures. Just everything mission specific for a mission that we had for a month and a half once we got to Iraq.
Yeah, I don't remember Kuwait being. And I could be wrong. We could have been there for a couple of days.
So how it
felt
works?
It felt like it was. We literally got there. We
Blinked.
went into some hooches, and we could like rack out for a little bit, but we had to like empty our sea bags, get all of our PPE out, and then
gear up and go.
And then we were on a fucking C-130,
Yeah.
flying like going into Iraq.
Combat takeoff. Holy shit!
I didn't like. I remember thinking like, all right, this is like, it's how naive I was. I was like, this is gonna be nuts. Like we're going into a war zone. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, all right, we're gonna, just go out and get some or whatever. And I remember getting the C-1 getting off the C-130, and I think we were in El Asad. And I remember the ramp goes down, and we get all of our shit and start walking off, and there's like a line of dudes, a line of Marines get lined up ready to go onto the C-130 because they're flying out. Their deployments are over. Yeah, and so these guys all had like,
home,
yeah, these guys all had
suckers.
like, they had like guitars and like all this like crazy like personal shit with them.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, looks like they had a pretty good deployment. Like they were laughing and joking. They were like, I was expecting to see like dudes in Iraq with like the 1,000-yard stare and shit.
yeah,
And this was 2008.
yeah.
This was, I think it was like March or maybe May of 2008. And like, so combat wise, not for the Marines, not a lot was going on at that point. And I just remember seeing these guys who were like, have fun, it sucks, bye. And I'm like, okay. And like I had a few senior Marines who had been in Karma in 06, and a few other guys who had been in the invasion in 03.
Yeah.
And they were the ones telling us all the stories. Like they were like, it's fucked up, dude. We're gonna go fuck shit up. And we get there and it was not like that at all. It was static as hell.
Yeah.
It turned like that was a cake deployment.
Oh yeah.
It was.
Mine was just longer.
Yeah. There towards the end of the deployment, I can remember we'd go out on patrol or something, and it was so hot. Like by August, like July and August, we'd go out on patrol and not shit was happening. And like some guys would be like, I'm not carrying a full combat load. They like load one magazine up to go walk around the city. That's it. And they would just close their pouches and have nothing in them.
Oh my god!
They were like, I knew guys who would take their sappies out of because we had those uncomfortable. We didn't have the sappy carriers. I don't even remember what they were called, but they had like the big collars on them.
Probably IBAs.
Yeah, IBAs, and they were just uncomfortable as fuck. Like you couldn't.
Oh yeah.
You couldn't do anything in them.
It was like a flak vest with room for a heavy ass plate.
Yeah, yeah. And so like guys would take like their collars off and like they take their sappy plates out.
Oh, yeah.
And because it was just hot. Like nothing's going on. Fuck it. We're like demilling everything because we're handing back ain't shit happening.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're doing.
Did you see? Did you guys ever get to see the the IOTVs, which was like after the IBA. So IOTV, the basic idea behind it was there was this tab. You'd leave it out, so if like something happened to you,
Oh, like the quick pull?
Yeah, so you could just pull the tab,
and everything would come off.
And then you could just pick up your buddy and
yeah.
truck on. So I mean, it was the same with those. It was like all this extra shit, shoulder daps and all this crap.
Yeah, we didn't have shoulders. I mean, we had these big, thick straps though that came over. They were Kevlar and they were like that big. And I mean, they went from your neck down to like where your shoulder is, and you didn't have anything after that.
The IOTVs were pretty nice compared to the IBAs, but they were still annoying. I mean, if you're not a gunner, there was almost no point to shoulder daps because you had, the up armored freaking window between you and any EFP or IED that might go off. So it's like these shoulder daps, you can't move, you can't reach for stuff, you can't drive, you can't touch. So
we got sappy carriers when we went to Afghanistan, and those things were fucking awesome compared.
Plate carriers is what we called them. My squad leader in Fort Hood had it.
Yeah.
I had never seen it until then. I was like,
they're nice because all it is like two straps here, and you lift it up, and that your sappy goes right there, and then you've got some side sappies,
and then that's it,
and your back sappy, and then some magazine pouches. But like all of that, like pretty much, it starts like right at your mid chest, and I mean you can maneuver in that thing. That's what was nice about that is like compared to what we had in Iraq. Because in Iraq, you were like, dude, if we get into something, and I've got to like jump over a fucking wall in this thing, that's not happening.
No.
Like I'm not going to be able to in this. Because my movement was so restricted, I couldn't like jump up and like pull myself up because you were just so restricted. But like with the sappy carriers, like you could go out and run like the fucking, obstacle course and do it no problem in a full combat low because you just had the freedom of movement to move.
I've heard about them. I saw that one, but never got to experience it. People were always like, "What do you mean you didn't have plate carriers in Iraq?" And I'm like, I don't know. I deployed in 2007. We went through, what is it called? RFA or whatever? No, I forget what it's called, but they issue you all the stuff that you're going to need for deployment. That included like 4 sets, brand new sets of ACUs and all kinds of other gear and stuff. And it was just the ACH is what we got. So it wasn't the Kevlar. That was pretty nice because the ACH was the latest, greatest. It was lighter and much more comfortable than a Kevlar. And we got the IOTV. And it's always like, I was the guy that always liked the new stuff, but after seeing the plate carrier, I was like, man, that IOTV is kind of fucking dumb.
Yeah, the plate carriers were fucking great.
Yeah.
They were so awesome to be able to, and I didn't get them till I got into country.
Yeah.
Like, until I got up.
I'm going to have to edit it out, so I forgot to tell you that a rule is if somebody comes through, then we pause.
Okay. I didn't know anyone else was here.
Yeah. She's the one I said lives upstairs.
Lives upstairs.
Yeah.
I still don't know the layout of the house.
Because
all I've really seen is this room and that room.
Oh, you don't know the layout. Fun fact. There is a board that lifts up upstairs for like the attic area, right?
Yeah.
I've never been up there. There could be a dead body or $1 million, and I wouldn't know the difference.
You should go up there.
Well,
Go exploring, man. Go
one reason is I don't have like any way to get up there. It's literally just a board that lifts up, and you go up into the attic. So I don't have like a step stool or a ladder or anything. The only thing I got is that thing over at the storage units, and I am no longer in the shape to do CrossFit to get up in there. So I would need like a ladder or something. I should go up there though. I find one of those coins that's worth like $8 million, and it's like, yeah,
that'd be hilarious. If you do, I get a finder's fee for motivating you to go up there.
I honestly doubt it because the couple that lived here before, so it was probably 4 or 5 years ago we moved in now. The couple that lived here before was very, they get married, have baby, grow, expand into a new.
That was the most robotic thing ever. They get married, have a baby.
I don't know.
So, like, almost Russian. Almost Russian. Get married, have a baby.
I mean, it was like they were your traditional family, so to speak. And so the only reason I say it like that is because I'm pretty sure not only did they know exactly what was up there, but they probably went up there and cleaned it out before they left. So if anything was up there, but hey, I don't know. And they were here for about as long as I've been here. So who knows? Maybe they didn't go up there either, and whoever was here before left like
a dead body.
Well, I was really hoping for
or
the
a
money.
kilo of cocaine. Who knows? I mean, that'll make you some money.
I could sell that.
I mean, if you know how to, I guess. I feel like if you,
I know a guy.
You know a guy. Like I feel like if you find like some hardcore illegal drugs like that, people are like, it's got a street value of X amount of dollars, and you're like, yeah, but it's not like one of those things you just like spray paint a sign or put on Craigslist and be like,
for sale.
For sale.
Like,
kilo of
street
cocaine.
value of I found this in my house.
It's going rate is this, and I heard on this documentary that a kilo is worth this, so I'll give it to you half off.
I'm gonna go in a Facebook group and ask questions. Does anybody know how I can move this?
Yeah. Does anyone know how this works? Like, I don't know. Because I feel like that's gonna take some know-how to do that. You got to know someone who knows someone. And then you've got to go through a whole sketch. Because I imagine that's going to be a sketchy ass deal. Like you're going to show up, it's going to be in an empty parking lot in the middle of the night.
And then it's like, if you do the whole thing, you're probably getting, a chunk of change. But if you did it in pieces, you would probably get more money. But then, like, am I gonna?
I don't know how.
I gonna stop my?
Don't know how drug economics works. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's just like most other things. The guy that manufactures the car, it gets the best price on it, and then the dealership buys it.
Well, yeah, you always are tacking on more and more.
Yeah, so it's just like if I sell it to you and then you sell it to the end user, you're gonna make.
I'll make 5%
in increase there. So if I did it, then I would get to keep more of my profits because I could charge the same price and cut you out. But now, am I going to run stop my business and be like, oh, I sell drugs now?
I don't know if you'd want to do that.
I don't think that's.
I feel like that lifestyle. I feel like that lifestyle.
I don't have. We're not talking about an attic full of this stuff. We're talking about one.
Yeah, we're talking about one. Like, it's like winning the lottery. I feel like it happens one time, and you're like, all right. I don't know. I don't know how I don't know what would happen if I honestly would be like, I think I should just call the police and be like, hey, going through my attic and I found a kilo.
No, absolutely not. I was a cop for 10 years.
Oh, and your first reaction is going to be, you have cocaine in here.
There is no circumstance ever. I don't care if you get pulled over, stopped. I don't care if you're going into Walmart and he's standing outside waving hi at people. There is no situation where talking to the police improves your situation.
Oh, wow.
Ever. I watched a 4-hour seminar with a police officer and a lawyer on that. I think they were speaking at Harvard. It's on YouTube on why you should never talk to the police.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Ever.
Yeah.
I talk to people all the time. They're like, I got pulled over and I was talking to the cop and he was really nice. And I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, officer. I was like, you just admitted.
Yeah.
If you're like, yeah, I'm sorry that I was speeding. You just admitted to speeding. No, I didn't. I was like, oh,
So when I studied criminal law and justice,
he was really nice. He was really nice.
No. There are nice. Look, there are nice. My neighbor's a cop, and he's incredibly nice.
Sure, but
and awesome. He's an awesome dude.
There's just,
but when
whatever it turns into, you get into the courtroom, and next thing you know, it's like, hey, officer, we need you to testify, and it's like, yeah. So I was over at Joe's. I was off duty, but we were having a cookout. And, he was talking to one of his friends about the kilo of cocaine that they found in his attic. So that's what brings us to here.
Yeah. So I studied criminal law and justice before going into the Marines when I went to college. So I went to college before the Marines for a little bit. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll try going to be a lawyer or something. So I studied criminal law and justice. And my very first intro class to that major, I had this professor, and at the very first day, he goes, all right, this is the basics of the criminal system.
Yeah.
Like, you are getting a 100,000-foot view of what our and as you go through this major, you'll get more and more in depth. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, if you take one thing away from this semester of classes, is if you ever have a run-in with the police, don't ever argue with them. Don't ever say anything. Just yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Don't argue with a man who has a badge and a gun because you don't know what kind of day he's having.
You shouldn't argue with someone with a gun.
Yeah, exactly.
And this guy has a badge and a gun.
Yeah.
So,
and he's like, and if they ever ask you anything or say any, he's just be cordial and let the court system figure it out.
Yeah. So when I was a PFC at Fort Polk, me and my partner, the short version is we arrested a guy for child abuse. And we saw the kid. We called MPI, Military Police Investigations.
Yeah.
We had them do the follow-up. We talked to the neighbors. I think the sitter, I believe was the complainant, the person who called. We found the guy. I think he was working or volunteering somewhere. We were like, you need to come with us. He was a soldier. He was a service member. He cooperated. He turned around. He led us cuffing. We went downtown. We went to the PMO, processed him, had to fingerprint, fill out paperwork. And one of the pieces of paper that we had to do was rights advisement. You have to Mirandize someone. Yeah. The difference is in the movies and TV shows, they say you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney if you can't afford one. You can't just say that. You have to fill out, at least in the military as an MP, you have to fill out a piece of paper that is a rights advisement form, and then they invoke or they don't, and you go from there. So I believe he invoked, so that's like, I want a lawyer. I'm not talking to you, which obviously makes our job difficult, but he was very cooperative, 100%. He just wouldn't talk to us, so I was like, cool. Come to find out later, I want to say his wife was at work. Come to find out later, they have a dog that is probably this big and would basically nonchalantly bump into the kid.
Yeah.
And like push it against the wall and stuff enough that it
bruise.
wasn't like it would leave bruises.
Yeah.
It left bruises. That's why so I was like, wow, we just arrested a guy on a completely unfounded complaint, but he cooperated. So even if it turned out he was guilty, at least you're not looking at attempting to flee, resisting arrest, assault on a law enforcement officer. It's like so many times people get in trouble for stuff and they want to kick up and cause problems. And it's like, that's when you get those add-on charges. I would never charge someone with provoking speeches and gestures because that could be fuck. That could be the F word. You could, at least in the military, you could charge someone with provoking speeches and gestures for cussing, raising their voice. But I'm not just going to do that because I'm walking past somebody in the shopette and they're on a phone call. But if you're speeding and then you try to punch me and fight me and then you use the F word. I had a guy at one time, we were trying to help him, but then he assaulted my partner and he was calling us the N-word, which was weird because my partner was a white guy from Missouri and I look like this.
Obviously.
But I was like, look, you're drunk. It's 2:00 in the morning. I just want to get you back to your barracks room. Let's just help you out.
Yeah.
He jumped out of a moving car. That's why I was there. I was patrol supervisor. This dude jumped out of a moving vehicle. So my partner pulls up on him like, hey, man, you need to go to the hospital or what's this all about? No, I'm good. Like, I don't remember what. So
well, they do, help him but they do that so that if they do have to bring charges, right? So if you're going to have all the, like, there's one main charge that they're trying to get you for, but
that's
then
probable cause.
Yeah. So so let's say it's assault, right? So you're going down for assault. This is how my understanding of it is, and I'm no professional. But so you're arrested on assault. During the course of that arrest, then you go through all of these other things like resisting and, whatever, speech and gestures, what you were just talking about.
Yep.
And you just start tacking on. So that when it comes, because like in civilian courts, if memory serves, something like 96% of all arrests never go to court because it always gets pled out. Something like it's very, very small percentage of.
I could believe that.
Very small percentage of actual arrests make it to trial.
I all the time I pulled people over and wrote them a ticket, and they're like, "I'll see you in court." I don't think I ever went to court for a traffic ticket. because my story was on the back. I never had to go to court. The officer didn't. The person could go to court to fight it, but usually they lost because.
So when I came home from that, so here's a funny story about speeding tickets. So in the Marines, I don't know if it's the same way in the Army. If you get a speeding ticket, it's like a page 11. We would get page 11s for speeding tickets.
You want to explain that one? Because I know.
A page 11 is like a slap on the wrist. It's like, it's not an NJP. It's not the ninja punch. Right, so an NJP is non-judicial punishment. We call it the ninja punch.
It's an Article 15. So we call them Article 15s because that's what it was in the MCM, the Manual for Courts Martial.
Yeah, so we called them just NJPs.
So it sounds like a page 11 because NJPs, you would have summarized company grade and field grade.
Yeah, so
it sounds like
something
a page
bad
11
would happen, like you'd get reduction in rank, restricted to barracks.
So page 11 is like a
pay.
negative counseling statement.
Yeah, so page 11 is like you did bad, don't do it again. You know. That's what a page 11 is.
So
I think if you got like 3 page 11s in a certain amount of time, after your third one, it's an automatic NJP.
So what is this? The office?
The office?
When he's like, oh, you don't want to get 3 corrections because then if you get 3 corrections, that's one automatic, punishment. And if you get 3 punishments, then you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched The Office, but there's an episode where
I haven't seen it.
And then if you get 10 of those.
But that's how it works. So we would get so if you got a speeding ticket.
So if you got a speeding ticket, it was probably a DD form 1408.
I have no idea. No, this wasn't on base. So I lived in Wilmington.
Oh, so if you got a speeding ticket off base. Yeah. Oh, we got speeding tickets off base. We didn't fucking tell anybody.
Oh no, we had to tell someone because we were kind of on the honor system, and I remember I was going up to base at like 4 a.m, and I'm driving through this small little town of Holly Ridge, and I have my cruise set, and it's 55-mile-an-hour speed limit zone, and I have my cruise set at like 55, and behind me there is a car coming, like I can see it because there's no one else on the highway. I'm on 17, traveling north, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. No one else is on the highway. And I see off in the distance, there's this car behind me, way off. And then I look back, and I'm like, and there's this, I see these headlights, and I don't pay attention to it. And then I look back up, and it's like they're traveling like 75, 90 miles an hour down the highway. God, that's how fast they're going, because I'm driving like this.
Is this the cop?
No, this isn't the cop. This is another car coming up behind me.
It was probably me.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, this is Holly Ridge, which is they hate military in that town. They hate them.
Just too close to base.
Just too close to base. Like being a Marine, if you go to Wilmington, if you're in Jacksonville, you can't it was cool when I was in the Marine Corps, and I'd go up to when I came up from Afghanistan, I went up to Buffalo to meet my wife's family. At the time, she was my girlfriend, and I would show my military ID to people at bars, and so they'd be like, "Your drinks are on the house, bro. Don't worry about it. We got you." Wilmington, Jacksonville, anywhere in between, they would look at you and be like,
"Your drinks are double."
Yeah, go fuck you. You get 2, bro. You get 2. Because I don't want no trouble from you tonight.
You get 2, and the second one is going to be watered down, and they're double price.
Yeah, you don't get shit. I saw a bar fight in Wilmington between some frat guys, and because Wilmington has a big college there, at UNCW, and so there was a group of Marines and some frat boys, and they got into a bar fight, and the frat boys started that shit, straight up. One of the Marines was hitting on a girl. And I guess it the frat, it was I guess a girlfriend of someone who's, I don't know. I was a witness to it, and I was playing pool in this bar with a buddy of mine. So the frat boys all just start punching and pushing the Marines, and so of course the Marines all the Marines get up and start pushing them back. The cops show up to the bar. Their first instinct, and this is how Wilmington PD was. Their first reaction was, it's the Marines' fault. So when they came rushing into there's 4 of them. When they came rushing in, they had tasers and mace and their batons out, and they see all the crew cuts, and they just start hitting them. Like, get on the ground! And like the Marines are like, why the fuck are you hitting me? Yeah, exactly. Stop resisting. Like, and they're all getting, and I'm just like, man, this is really fucked up. Like, they didn't come in to break up. They're not doing anything to the little college boys. They're doing everything to because for them, like, when they go into a bar, if they see Marines, obviously it's the Marines' fault. So they're gonna.
It's like Harold and Kumar when the black guy's in there reading a book with his glasses on.
Yeah,
and they escape, and all the cops get back, and they're like, "He's trying to escape." And they go in,
and they just start beating on him.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of like, well, that's
see the guy with the haircut. It's his fault.
Yeah, it's that guy's fault.
Fuck him.
Yeah. But so I was driving through Holly Ridge, and so as this car is coming up behind, and by the time, so this car gets up like right on my ass, and it's like I look behind me, and then as I look back to the road coming southbound, there's a car in the turn lane to turn left, and as I'm passing by it, it hit the blue lights hit, and I'm like, well, I don't know if he's pulling me or the guy behind me, so I just pull over. I don't know what he's doing. I was taught when you're driving, if you see blue lights, pull over. And like I don't know if he's going to a call. I don't know what's happening. The guy behind me just takes off. Like, so I pull off to the road. This dude just keeps going. The cop turns around on the highway and pulls in behind me. And I'm like, okay, well, what's happening now? So he walks up. I roll down the window. I was like, is there a problem, officer? And I'm in my uniform. He's like, you know how fast you were going? I was like, 55. He's like, I clocked you at 75. And I'm like, no, you didn't, because my cruise was set at 55. And he's like, are you calling me a liar? I was like, nope. Either your equipment's wrong or my equipment's wrong. Because I had my cruise control set at 55.
That is the perfect response.
like
I am not calling you a liar. I'm saying either something's broken with you or with me.
Yeah, one of us is wrong here. Like, and so he gave me a ticket, and I, of course, had to tell my platoon sergeant. My platoon sergeant was like, well, that's a page 11. I'm like, all right, well, I'll come in and sign it. And I didn't care because I was like 3 months from terminal at this point, maybe 4 months from terminal. I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, give me a page 11, bro. I've got my good cookie. I'm getting the fuck out.
I got a 1408 on post from an Air Force chick going to visit a buddy in Germany. I
don't know what a 1408 is.
It's an on-base ticket.
Oh.
So we had 1408s and CSVs, I think, or CVBs. The other one was a money ticket. It was like a regular ticket. The 1408 is where you would cite somebody for an article in the manual for course martial or the.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, the 1408 can only be issued to service members. So in other words, if you're out and about, I say, hey, let me see your ID, and you don't have your ID, technically, an MP could issue a 1408 for not having
you have to have your military ID on you at all times.
Whereas if I ask for your ID and you're a service member and you don't have your ID and I go to write you the same thing, I can't write a CVB for that because that's not a USC, that's not a state code, that's not a local code, that's nothing.
Yeah.
So it has to be on a 1408. And the 1408s don't cost money. You don't necessarily go to court. It could be anything from your page 11, a counseling statement, all the way up to, depending on what the infraction was, a court martial, possibly prison time. But I was PCSing. I was flying out the next day to Fort Hood. So I don't know what happened to it. Because normally the copy gets sent to the unit commander.
Oh.
I was still assigned over there, and I was taking 2 weeks of leave. And then I had to in process for 2 weeks at Fort Hood, so it was going to be a month. So they didn't have anywhere to send that ticket, and they didn't have jurisdiction over me anymore.
Well, what was crazy to me was when I got my page 11 for this ticket. I went and got a lawyer out in town.
Yeah.
To like, yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah. I was traffic court. They were like, show up here and pay this fine. I'm like, I'm not doing any of that.
Nope.
Like, I didn't tell them that. I was just in my mind. I'm like, fuck you. I ain't doing that shit.
Show up here and pay this fine.
So
no.
So I went and got a lawyer, and she was like, my services will be, $200 or whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. Here's $200. And she's like, give me the ticket. And I gave her the ticket. And she's like, I'll take care of it. I'm like, cool. Do I have to go to court or anything? Because I need to let my command know. That was the reason you have to tell people about, because if you do have to show up for court, your command needs, so you're not UA. Or you guys call it AWOL.
I mean, I have an appointment.
Yeah, no, the Marines want to know every aspect of your life.
No, I mean, like...
I had a buddy of mine...
You would get in trouble if you were like an E2 and going to court and saying you had an appointment. They're like, we checked your med pros, you're green on everything.
Yeah.
Like, what is this appointment? But if you're a sergeant and you get a ticket,
Well, I was an E3, so it didn't really fucking matter.
then it's like, you get a ticket. It's like,
I had a buddy of mine get page 11 because so he had a daughter in a previous relationship that he basically, and this happened all before he was in the Marines. So this was all before he was in the Marines and everything. But I don't know the entire story, but old girl that baby mama got married to someone else, and basically he gave up his rights to her new husband. So he basically signed, like, basically her new husband adopted her. Like, there was all this drama. I mean, it was one of those things that happened when they were like 16.
sure.
And by the time he joined the Marines, he was like 25 or so. And so the kid was old. And so he didn't see that much of the kid anyways. And that's just kind of how they worked out this whatever. And so, but everyone knew he had a kid. Like, he was like 7 or 8. And they were like, well, we need to, put her in the DEERS program, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, I don't have rights. I don't have any. And they were like, he was like, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not letting you know what her name is. I'm not letting you into that. Yeah.
She doesn't exist.
She doesn't exist for you guys.
This
And they're like, the Marines are like, no, it's not how this works. And I'm like, and he was like, well, you're going to have to deal with it because this was Miles. And they gave him a page 11 for not like letting them know more about her, which was really weird.
That's funny.
Yeah. And he was like, fuck it. I don't care. Like, give me a page 11. Like, I'll sign it and it will be done with it. Like, I'll have that and whatever. It'll drop off in a year or 2 years or whatever the fuck it is. And I'm not going to,
So page 11s are what shows up that prevents you from getting promoted. Because I know the Marines are like,
oh yeah, they
Marines, you just exist and then you get promoted, but you can't fuck up.
Yeah, so I don't think page 11.
You don't have to go to boards to get
yes,
promoted.
if you're doing meritorious promotion, especially for like NCOs, you go to a board.
Okay.
But that's meritorious. So you have a meritorious promotion, then you've got just regular promotion. So meritorious promotion is maybe you don't have the cutting score. So we get promoted by cutting scores in the Marines, or at least we used to many years ago.
We have scores.
Yeah, so your pro cons, your PFT scores, your rifle qualification, all those go into your cutting score.
Okay.
How many MCIs you do, which are like tests. So like in order to go from Lance Corporal to Corporal, I think you have to take like 7 tests or something. And they're easy, stupid tests, but they're called MCIs, Marine Combat or Marine Corps Instructions or something. Like there's one on like finance, there's one on leadership, there's one on like but you have to take 7 of them.
So these tests are probably something along the lines of, add 2 + 2 and write it with the red crayon.
Fucking hilarious. You and your red crayon jokes, motherfucker. No, so like that's one
interesting because that's at Air Forceism, right? Like that's how they get promoted. They take tests.
Yeah, they take tests, but so you have to. So you can't basically, or at least you used to not be able to get promoted without taking MCIs in the infantry, because the infantry had like the highest cutting score of any other MOS. So like
highest meaning it was harder to.
It was promoted? It took the most points to get promoted from E4 to E3 to E4. So to go from Lance to Corporal, it was like your cutting score is like 1,300 or whatever. And then, like I knew a guy who was, so it was very rare for an infantry guy to go in their 4 years to go from a private or PFC all the way up to sergeant within 4 years. It was almost unheard of. Whereas I knew a guy who was, he like loaded missiles onto planes or helicopters or whatever. I don't know what the MOS was.
No.
He was a Pogue. And that was his job, was like, I make sure the missiles are good and I help get the missiles put onto the wing. That's what I do. And he made sergeant in like 2 years. I was like, you're a fucking bastard. He's like, my cutting score's like 300, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm like, mine's like 1,000 points more than you. I essentially have to run a first class PFT. I have to shoot expert on the range. Yep. I've got to do all my MCIs.
Okay, so it makes sense now. So I think we just called it points.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's the same concept. It's like you're your physical fitness test,
it's points.
you get points for it.
Yep.
And if you have a 180 score, that's like no 60.
And it depends on like, did you have proficiency in conduct? So you got reviewed by your officers or your NCOs, and they call them pro-con marks.
Okay,
proficiency in conduct. Like, where do you
below E5? That was pretty much below E5. I want to say that was more like your counseling packet. So it's like if you went through that and you had a bunch of good ones. Like, one time I stopped.
It was almost.
I think it was 171. It was in Louisiana. I stopped on the highway. There was like a captain. And he needed help changing his. I helped him change his tire in the rain. So they were like, "Good job, Smeltz," and wrote me a good counseling statement. And if you have a bunch of negative ones, like you went out and got a Mustang without telling your platoon sergeant with a 19% interest rate, and you married the stripper, then that might be like,
you're a dumbass. Here's your counseling.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, that's not illegal and it's not against the MCM.
Yeah, but you're just you're generally a dumbass.
Negative counseling statement. So that's kind of your review. Above E5, you get NCOERs, so you get monthly, quarterly, and then annual reviews.
Yeah,
and that's compiled.
So we call those pro-con marks in the Marines. I think the Navy has them too.
So like pro versus.
No. So proficiency. Are you proficient in your MOS, and what's your conduct?
Yeah.
So do you conduct yourself as a Marine at all times? Are you someone that we constantly have to tell, hey man, you need to go shave again, or you don't get your haircut every week?
That explains Matt Best's song where he goes, "You forget a haircut, everyone throws a fit."
Yeah. Oh yeah. You show up Monday morning without a fresh haircut. Doesn't matter. You could have a haircut on Wednesday. On fucking Wednesday, you could be like, you know what? I got some time. I'm gonna go to the base barber and get a haircut real quick. Yeah, you better go get another one Sunday before you show up to Monday morning formation. Otherwise, people will lose their fucking shit. It's like having your hands in the pockets, which I never understood.
Dude, I agree. When I was in Germany, I think I got 4 haircuts.
Yeah, when I was in Iraq, we gave each other barracks cuts, and my squad leader gave me one, and he was from Hawaii. He's very Hawaiian, and he gave me this haircut because we had what we called the dog and pony show. So RCT, the regimental combat team, was touring all the posts. So he's like, all right, we've got to clean up, we've got to shave, because we were on these little TCPs, and we were just, discipline was a little lax when it came to uniform standards. Like,
of course.
So I had gone maybe 2 months without a haircut in Iraq at this point, and like we broke out these clippers, like everyone's getting a fucking haircut, and I was like, dude, please don't buzz my fucking head. He's like, I can try and give you a fucking fade and do the whole thing. And I'm like, please try. So he gave me this thing, and like my best friend looked at it and goes, dude, that seriously looks like the coastline of Hawaii with all the waves. Like, look at it, because it just went up and down. Like, it was like up here on my right side, like it was like an inch or two above the ears, like the fade was. On the left side, it was like the fade started at like halfway down the ear, so it like did this whole like, it went around and like went up and then came back down and then went back up, and it looked awful. And everybody laughed about it, and I was like, fuck it, we're shaving it. I have the ugliest shaved head in the world, but we'll do it. That's why I wear a hat, because I'm balding.
Yeah. And
I've got an ugly ass fucking head. I understand this. I recognize this about myself. Let's move on.
That's funny. So I feel like when I shave my head, it looks like the head of a penis.
It looks like mine literally looks like someone took the skin off my scalp, took a pack of hot dogs, and shoved them under there and put the skin back. So I have these like lines that run down like, and if I push the skin together, it's fucking gross, dude.
Put the skin back. My brother-in-law.
That's the only way I can describe it, and it comes to a point. So I've got these lines that run up and down my head. I've got like 4 or 5 lines that run up and down my head.
Dude, I would be nervous if I did shave my head like that. I would cut it.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, oh yeah. Getting a cut in boot camp was always fun, because I always walked out of there bloody, always. Like, I just knew I was going to get the fuck cut out of my head. Because in boot camp, they shave, like, you're not going in and being like, oh, take a little off the top and get a little, can I get a high reg or a medium reg? Yeah. No, they're just like, like no clippers.
With the with the hose attached.
Yep, with the hose attached. I don't think they used the hose in boot camp. I can't remember. At Camp Lejeune they did.
Yeah.
But you could go into Camp Lejeune, like if you either out in town or on base, because they had both, you could go to the barber and be like, and you could go anywhere in Jacksonville and be like, I need a medium reg. And they would just be like, all right, cool. Because we had low regs, medium regs, high regs. And if you showed up with a fucking low reg, that was like not getting a haircut. Even though it was in regulation.
Why did you spend the money?
Yeah. They're like, why the fuck do you have that nasty motherfucking haircut? And then the popular one that all the lifers would get, like the Sergeant Major, like I've seen it, we called it the pussy patch. Did you ever see the pussy patch? The one little spot right here.
Yeah.
And that's all they had. And we're like,
that was very limited, but it was always the guy that was jacked that had,
oh yeah. Oh no.
E7 or above.
No, these were all the fat dudes who thought they were jacked. Like these were all those pudgy dudes who walked like they could probably run a first class PFT and they looked strong, but they weren't like chiseled out of granite, right? They were just like there was some meat on that muscle. You know what I mean? There was some
pie.
Yeah, Semper Pi. So
were they assholes?
I know. Like when I saw those things coming towards me, I just turned around and walked the other way. I was like, I'm
talking to that guy.
Not even. Don't even want to find out what kind of. Because if you're walking around with that on your head, chances are I don't want to know you.
That is not what we called them, but everybody knew it.
The pussy patch? You didn't call them the pussy patch?
No.
What'd you guys call it? We just called it. I don't know why we called it the. Someone just explained. Like someone never. No one explained it to me. It's just I heard someone's like, look at that fucking pussy patch. And I was like looking around like, I'm looking for pussy. I'm like, what is that? What are you talking about? He's like, see that dude over there with the little thing? That's a pussy patch. I'm like, oh, is that what you call it?
That makes sense.
Okay, I got it now.
That's what we call it now.
Yeah, that's the name now. It's like no one understands why we call something the thing we call it. Like
I just can't figure out like there's one guy I'm thinking of distinctly that had that haircut, but I'm like, are you balding back here? And so your justification is
just shave your fucking head.
Yeah,
just shave your. If you're bald, if
you don't need that. There.
Like I knew plenty of guys who just shave their heads. Like so, most DIs.
When I got to Fort Hood, that's what I did.
Yeah, shave your fucking head.
It was just easier.
Just pick it. You're done.
Boom.
Why put the little patch of hair right here? So
and why pay for that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why pay for a haircut and be like, I would like enough hair that I can cover it with 3 fingers.
Yeah, right here. I don't understand it. And then so I remember the first time. So at ITB, which is Infantry Training Battalion, it was the first time we didn't have to get our head shaved, but we couldn't have medium regs. So we had to have the high and tight. So we would always get high and tight. And then when I got dropped to the fleet, I thought that's what we all had to do.
High and tight.
Yeah, high and tight. So I show up to the fleet, and I'll never forget this little dude. He's a good guy from New York. He was my fire team leader, and he was just an awesome motherfucking Marine. Like he really just was. He was a shitbag, but at the same time, he was fucking stellar. Like he towed that line so well. He looked at me one day and he goes, "The fuck do you have a high and unnecessary for?" And I was like, "A what?" And he's like, the fucking haircut you getting, man." He's like, "You're a boot. You need to shave your fucking head until after your first deployment. That's the rules." I was like, "Okay, well, I guess I got to go back to shaving my head again." But he called it a high and unnecessary. And so that's what we like. So every time someone showed up with a high and tight, we'd be like, "Oh, look at this high and unnecessary walking towards us." Like that is some motivation. Like because we called it being a motard. You know what a motard, like just extremely motivated, just like
that makes sense.
Just oorah, semper fi all the way, like, and you're just kind of like, oh, you are not what I need right now. Like, please leave me alone. So there were guys who would just get the high and unnecessaries, and so that's what we call it. So when we would see those haircuts walking toward us, we're like, this is one of those on point Marines who thinks he's hot shit. I don't want to deal with his ass.
That's funny.
Yeah, so we called it. Yeah, so those were. So I never got a high and unnecessary.
I mean, I got them, I was super motivated when I was at Fort Polk.
Motivation.
But
Uh-uh.
after I got demoted, I was like,
I
was like, I think I'm going to be a dirtbag right now. And so I was for a while. I think after I got demoted the first time, I didn't think, I like to call it remoted. I didn't think getting remoted was a possibility. I thought I was screwed.
What, once you get demoted?
Yeah.
I had a drill instructor who was like, I got demoted once, and now I'm a gunny. Fucking if you get demoted, take it and learn from it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so I got to Germany, and I got remoted to E5 again. I mean, I worked for it. I put in the effort. They were like, hey, you're looking at this time in service, time in grade. And I was like, at first they were like, Smeltz, what? None of this makes any sense. And I was like, I got demoted. It doesn't show up on my ERB. I don't know why. They were like, why is your dates all messed up? And I explained it, and they were like, oh, okay. And then they didn't really care. And I was like, that's different, because the unit I was in seemed to care that I had been demoted. So anyways, I got over there, and I was like, oh, okay. So I can just like put in the effort and get remoted. So I did. And that's when I started to realize again that I could actually do something with my career. And, then I was kind of a dirtbag again. Then I got to Fort Hood. So I mean, I've been there, but
I was never,
I think the only time I got the awesome haircuts, like the motard haircuts you talked about, was at Fort Polk, because there was this lady right off post. She was married to retired military. She was Korean. She knew what the fuck was up. She is the only person I met 10 years in the Army that knew how to properly shave someone's head. So when I would get a high and tight, I would get like a super high and tight, but the sides would be shaved. And she would shave it, and I would touch it, and there were it was just skin.
Smooth. Just very
smooth skin. No
follicles, no nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, this, and it wasn't irritated. It wasn't red. Yeah. It wasn't, I want to say she charged.
I fucking hate the high and tights, man.
But she knew what the fuck, in the hot towel afterwards, and I was like, she knew what the fuck was up. I never got a good quality haircut after Fort Polk.
No, I would always, so it was for me, when I went home on the weekends, when I was in like when I was at Lejeune, when I was deployed, I'd go home, I would not shave my face. I'd let for 2 days was just like, I am Joe. That is my name. And people would ask me, like, I'd go out to bars and I'd meet people and, be out with friends and stuff. And we'd go out and people would be like, oh, what do you do? I'd be like, at that point, like, I would just be like, I work for the government. Oh, what do you do for the government? I enforce foreign policy.
Still not sure.
No, I would tell people, I was like, I work in foreign policy. What do you do in foreign policy? I was like, I help enforce foreign policy. That's what I do. Like, it sounds very cryptic. I was like, I don't want to talk about work. Like, let's just leave it at that. Boom.
And I'd see other for the government.
So I remember when I was on post-deployment leave from Iraq, I went to Shelley Lake to go for a run. And there was a poolee function at Shelley Lake. And I'm wearing a poolee function. You know what a poolee? You don't have pulleys? So when you go into the DEP program, the MET program? So when before
delayed entry program.
Entry program.
Got it.
We call those pulleys.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that's what they were called. I know what you're talking about. I went to one before I enlisted. Other than that,
so you've signed on the dotted lines, you just haven't left yet. So they do all these things. And so I remember going on this run. I have my iPod on, and I'm going for a run, and I pass by, and I'm wearing my battalion shirt. Because I'm like, I'm in Raleigh, I'm not going to see I might run into one or two Marines, but I'm not going to run into like this plethora of Marines. And it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. It's like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. It's I think it's like a Saturday, and I haven't shaved yet, and I've been home for like 2 weeks. So I see. So they have the pull-up bars up, and they have Marines walking around in their boots and utes, and then I I can definitely tell there are 3 of them who are in charge. There's like obviously an officer, and there's obviously like a sergeant major or first sergeant, because you can tell them like by how they. And I can tell the first sergeant sees me, and he's like, so I'm running, and I'm like, oh, just get by, just look forward and run. And so he, like, as I'm coming up, he sees me, and he can see that I'm wearing the olive green T-shirt with like blue shorts and tennis shoes. And he's like, that's a Marine shirt. Like, and he's like, ah! And I'm like, like, I just wave at him as because I have my iPod in. I'm like, hey. And he's like, come here. And I'm like, oh, motherfucker. I'm like, oh, God damn it. And so, like, I'm just like, maybe if I act like I don't see him, he won't say anything. And I keep running. He's like waving at me. I'm like, fuck. So I go over to him, and they're like, hey, you in the Marine zone? I was like, at that point, I was like, oh, I just got out. I just, like, literally just got out. Like last
hours
like
ago.
last month, just got out of the Marines. Because I was like, I hadn't, like, it had been like a couple of weeks, because I was home for post-deployment leave. It had been a couple of weeks, and I had like pretty much the beard, like a full beard at that point, and no haircut. But I was wearing my battalion shirt, and he's like, oh yeah, you just get out, and I'm like, yeah, I just got out, like just EAS'd, I'm done, thank you, ma'am. Like, and
good talking to you.
Yeah,
I'll see you next time. Bye.
I was like, yeah, I just got out. And he's like, oh, what? Because my battalion emblem was in. He's like, oh, you were with 2-2, and I'm like, yeah, I was with 2-2. Yep. He's like, oh, infantry guy. That's an infantry, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want to come talk to these police? I was like, dude, I'm trying.
The time with the.
I'm
thing.
Like, I don't have to be in shape, but I'm on a pace right now. I've got a good pace. I'd really like to.
Yeah.
He's like, I understand, Devil. Keep going. I'm like, cool.
Oh,
and I'm just like, I'm just like, let me get the fuck out of here. I'm like, because I do not want to be like, because I'm not going to go talk to these police and be like, get out now, run. I would be like Vince Vaughn in Old School, like. Walk away. She's still 50 yards down the aisle. Walk away. Look at my wife. Look at me. Look at the babies. Look at me. Look at the babies. Because that's what I would have gone to that pulley function. But I also didn't want to get lifed out, because here I am in my hometown with no shave, no haircut.
What do you mean? You said lifed out?
Yeah. So, okay. So you have lifers, right?
That's funny, man.
You have lifers.
Yeah.
Right? So when a lifer yells at you, we just called it getting lifed out.
Oh.
That's what, I don't know if that was Marine Corps wide. That was definitely something for Fox Company. That was what we called it. Where, like, you would see someone getting yelled at, like, just getting in their face, like, ah, like knife handed and all that shit. And you would just be like, oh, look at that. Jones is getting lifed out by First Sergeant. I wonder what Jones did. No, he's getting lifed out, though. He's getting lifed out fucking hard. Like, that's what we called it.
That's what I was waiting. I was waiting for that to turn into, like, oh, are you in? Yeah. Oh, what's your commander's phone number?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Like, yeah. No, I was like, no, I've been out for like a month and a half.
Just like, yeah.
I like totally lied to the guys. Like,
just.
Yeah, I've been out for about a couple of months now. Just trying to.
Not long.
I know. Like, well, he's like, well, have you thought about, like, he started talking to me. He's like, well, are you going to have you thought about what are you doing and blah, blah. And I'm like, look, man, I'm, love to stay in chat, but I've got a pace. I'm trying to keep my miles up just because if I get, stop lost or whatever. He's like, no, man, I totally understand. Thank you for serving. It's more than most people. I'm like, not a problem. Let me keep, I'll talk to you later. And I just like, he's like, cool, man, go. And like, I ran off and I was like, don't run
there ever again.
Yeah, that was the last time I ran around that lake. Seriously. I was like, I'm never going back to, I'm going to Lakeland from now on.
Yep.
Because Lakeland doesn't have the big, like, soccer fields and all this shit, so that's where I'm going to go run.
That's funny. I would run into those on occasion. I mean, the Army, if it's a 4-day, you don't shave on a 4-day.
Nope. When you're in the Marine Corps,
you're supposed to. Because
the
regulation says,
oh yeah,
you are supposed to be clean shaven. That's why I had such a problem. That's why I grow a beard like this. Yeah. Because it doesn't tell you that you have to shave. It tells you have to be clean shaven for the Army. So sometimes I had to shave twice a day.
I had to shave twice a day.
I had my first sergeant in basic training go through the chow line, and he looked at me, and we were on an FTX.
Yeah.
So I had a razor and a canteen cup of cold water.
Oh, those are
no
fun.
shaving cream, no hot water. So I'm sitting there, and I rake my face.
And it hurts like fucking hell.
It hurt. And worst thing about it was, Joe, I didn't do a good job. So he
so you
saw
got wiped
my
out
face.
for that, yeah.
No, I didn't. This first sergeant was 10 years older than God.
10 years older than God.
He in a world where the military is something that you finish, he was done.
So in the Marine Corps, that's like 30.
But
in the Marine infantry, you see someone that old, you're like, he looks like he's 50. No, he's in the infantry, so he's probably more like 30.
In a TRADOC environment, a training environment, he could have been 40, but he was old as fuck. I mean, mind you, when I went through basic training, I was like 18, but so I didn't get lifed out. I didn't get yelled at. I did the same thing you did. So he said, Smeltz, did you shave this morning? I said, yes, First Sergeant. And then he just kept moving. So I think it was one of those things where he knew, well, this guy has literally been shaving for 2 weeks of his fucking life. Yeah. So he probably doesn't know how. But he also didn't, I don't think I ever heard the guy yell. Like, he was done.
He was zero fucks given.
Yeah, so he was walking down the line, and I think all he was looking for was if he asked somebody if they shaved and they said no, First Sergeant, then he could be like, hey, drill, take care of that guy.
So I would shave. When I shaved, I would always try and shave with at least no cream, even when I was at the barracks or at home, because I had to shave in the field. We all had to shave in the field, like for training.
That's exciting.
And it's fucking awful.
Like when you there's nothing around and you just have the Humvee mirror.
Dude, sometimes we didn't even have a fucking mirror. Like, we'd be out in the middle of the woods at Camp Lejeune.
Well,
and there would be
infantry, though. So
yeah.
We were MPs, so there was always a Humvee.
Yeah, so there would be sometimes where we didn't have a Humvee, and, like, it'd be cold, and you would just, like, go to the water buffalo or get a bottle of water or something, pour it in your canteen cup. And, like, my canteen cup was used for shaving and only shaving. Like, I didn't put food in it or anything.
I think the only other thing I've ever seen one used for was probably coffee.
I didn't even use it for coffee.
But
coffee, like I would get the instant coffee from MREs, and I wouldn't even make coffee. I would just pour the grounds in my mouth like dip.
But
I would.
Fuck yeah.
That's what I was like, nobody got time for coffee.
A training environment? Oh, that worked like a charm.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
You see some ground coffee. Let your stomach acid do the brewing. That was our theory.
But
but yeah, so I would sit there.
So even when you were home, you didn't use shaving cream?
Yeah. Because I did not want my body to get used to shaving cream, because I didn't want that high, because I was like, I'd be like, man, I know if I'm going to start using shaving cream, I felt, and I don't know if this, I felt in my mind, I was like, if I don't use shaving cream, it'll help toughen up my face.
Yeah.
For when I have to shave in cold weather. Is there a party out there? That was an air horn.
Okay, so the family across the street, I really want to get to know them, because they'll wake up and they'll be like, it's Tuesday, go get beer. I swear to God. And it's like everybody, I swear,
that
everybody
was so random. There was just
some of them. I don't know what that was. I don't know what that was.
Like, we're sitting here. Anyone who's listening to this will be like, why is there like a pause? I don't know if you'll be able to pick it up on the phone. There was an air horn that just blew outside, and I'm like,
yeah. That was not a regular
car horn. That was not a car horn. It was not a truck horn. It was literally like one of those like handheld air horns. Like was that a rape horn?
Like a basketball?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope not.
I hope
we are not responding appropriately.
Oh, we are not. Like, I'd feel bad.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out. Thank you, news.
I highly doubt it.
No,
the only time police...
Dude, it's 11:30 on a Sunday. In the AM, and we're drinking beer, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
The only time I've seen the cops really in this neighborhood, they knocked on the door one time.
Dude, you're down by NC State. The cops aren't going to show up here unless it's...
They asked if I saw anything because apparently there was a drunk driver that came through here and like clocked a couple of people's mailboxes in cars.
It's high school students.
That's the only time.
High school student.
The only time that I...
The state is like right over there.
Other than that, like I know my neighbors right here. Over here, they're very friendly. I don't really know them. Nugget is their best friend. Nugget is everyone's best friend.
Nugget is a ball of energy.
Yeah. But other than that, a bunch of people walking their dogs. Not much in way of danger. There's some weird stuff that goes on here. Obviously.
So that's Western out there. So this used to be kind of like...
When you grew up, this was probably nothing.
No.
Really?
These houses have been here. So this is where a lot of the college kids lived.
Okay.
It wasn't Brent Road. You know Brent Road, which is just up the street. You know where Brent Road is?
Yep.
So Brent Road used to be, and I don't know if they so that's where so there used to be an annual welcome back to school party on Brent Road for NC State.
Interesting.
Because that's where a bunch of like frat houses were. I think they were frat houses, but like in high school, that's where we would go and party because they block off the street and everything. And we, as high school kids, we were like, "There's fuckers aren't IDing." And so we would roll down at like 16, 17 years old and just be like,
to school. We know.
we're like, we're freshmen. We got invited. And people would be like, "Oh, why are freshmen at this?" We're like, "I don't know. Someone told us there was a party." And they'd be like, "Here, have a beer." And we're like, "All right, cool." We used to come down and party quite a bit at State. Like it wasn't odd for like us to go like at 16, 17 on a Saturday night to be like, "Oh, I hear there's a party down off of Hillsborough Street, you know, cool." And we'd go down there. That's where I grabbed my first boob. 16 years old.
You said 16?
Yeah, 16.
Nice.
That's where I grabbed my first and not like just like on accident. It was like full on motorboating, just got kind of a lap dance. It was awesome. It was great.
Dear Diary.
Dear Diary. No, so there was a keg party at this frat house. It's gone now. It's now an apartment complex at NC State. And I was at the keg filling up my beer. And then someone just put their cup up and like, "Hey man, hit me up." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And once I did that, again, I'm 16. I don't know party etiquette. So I did that. And so then another person passed. And so all of a sudden, now I'm all of a sudden becoming the bartender. Like I'm standing over the keg, pouring drinks, drinking a beer. And this girl's like she's like a few people back. She's like, "I need a beer." And I'm like, "Well, you got to wait your turn." And she's like, "I'll suck your dick." And I'm like, "Come on up.
You need a beer.
Move out of the way. She needs a beer.
She needs a beer."
So she comes walking up, and I'm at this point, I'd been standing over the keg so long, like I was sitting on this like ledge type thing that the beer keg was by. And nobody at this point had asked me like, "Oh, have you paid for the beer or anything?" Like no one. So I'm like, I look at this girl and be like, "You know, it's $5 a cup." She's like, "I got my cap." She's really drunk. And I was like, "Well, it's $5 a beer. We got to pay for this some way." And she's like, "Well," and then she just came and like straddled me, lifted up her shirt. I had just turned 16. Like this was great. She had lifted up her shirt and she just like grabbed my head and she just like, "Ah!" And I'm like grabbing him. I'm like, "This is great. I love college."
You get beer.
I was like, "All right, you get a lot of beer." I was like, "What about that blowjob you promised me?" And she's like, "Oh, it's just kidding." I'm like, "All right, well, you're a whore." That was.
So you go home and you're like.
So then we made the long drive back to North Raleigh. The party left, and I was like, "All right, well, I saw him." I felt like the kid in I felt like the kid in what was that movie? Grandma's Boy. Remember Grandma's Boy? You remember the movie Grandma's Boy from back in the day?
Yeah, but you said the kid.
There was a kid after the party. It's like, and you know, Sean sucked on his first boob. 13 hours. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh fuck. I forgot that.
Yeah, he was like 13 hours. That's what I was like. I was like, I had just turned 16. It was great. So I was with some friends from the football team, and they were like, "Oh, did you have fun at the state park?" I was like, "Fuck yeah, it was awesome." I was like, I want to go. Can we go back?
I was the bartender. It's
That's
not a big deal.
It was not a big deal.
That's funny shit. So what happened? With the? Was there more to the speeding ticket story?
Oh God, we got sidetracked.
So
huh?
yeah, no, I was waiting to come back to it, but that was some quality 16-year-old partying.
That
right
was
there.
some 16-year-old party getting some like.
So you
that
paid
girl statutory raped me.
She did.
She did. She was a pedophile.
She statutory raped herself.
No, she was probably. I mean, she was over the age of 18.
Sure, but well,
I mean, if she was like 20 or 21, that's a big no-no.
Yeah. So
yeah, she's a rapist. You can't rape the willing though, so I guess it's okay.
So you got statutory raped.
Yep, I was taken advantage of. It was awful. And by awful, I mean glorious. You always remember your first pair that you get to like when they're right there.
Yep.
Like I had seen boobs before that, but never like literally on either side of my face.
4K.
Yeah. Like just in motorboating.
3D.
Just
3D real life.
Yeah.
So you paid the lawyer $200.
Yeah, so they dropped the speeding ticket. I just had to pay like a $75 court fee.
Did she use your fucking prayer for judgment?
I don't know.
I'll bet she fucking did.
I have no idea. She just called me and she's like, "Hey, it's
gone.
It's gone." It's the only time I ever got a speeding ticket. Well, yeah, it's the only time I ever got a speeding ticket in my life.
Really?
Yeah. Never had another speeding ticket. I am a good driver.
Speeding doesn't make you a bad driver.
It does if you get caught.
It makes you Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
She probably used your prayer for judgment. The only reason I'm upset about that is because you could have done that. You could have gone to exchange of command, told him I got to be in court, showed up in court, and told the judge.
Well, she
hey,
didn't.
I'd like to use.
No, she didn't use my prayer for judgment. She sent me the result of the ticket of the court case, and it was improper equipment. So the case was dropped and thrown out of court for improper equipment. I don't know what she did.
I feel like that's
because there was nothing about prayer for judgment.
That's very common.
Yeah, there's nothing about prayer for judgment. I know what prayer for judgment is.
The improper equipment is very common. So it getting dropped for improper equipment wasn't improper equipment on the police officers.
It could have been improper.
I'll tell you what happened with the cop.
He probably didn't
clocked the guy behind you and then blamed you.
Yeah.
He's a fucking idiot is what he is.
Well, I think
the improper equipment was just because I saw that happen all the time. I'd write somebody a speeding ticket and they'd get like taillight out.
Yeah.
Improper equipment. So it was downgraded because improper equipment is a non-moving violation.
No, this was thrown out because of improper equipment.
Well, yeah, but if I'm a judge and I've got like drugs and actual violations, I'm not going to see an improper equipment case. So if it's downgraded to improper equipment, I'm gonna. I
don't know how all that works.
Fun fact: I am not a good driver according to your standards. I got pulled over on a motorcycle a few years ago.
I've been pulled over 3 times in my life. One resulted in a ticket.
When I was in the military, I was pulled over on an average of probably 4 or 5 times a year. I think I got at least 1 ticket a year while I was in the military.
And the thing is, It
never stuck. I was an MP.
I speed sometimes. So like when I had my Mustang, we drove from New Orleans to Pensacola, my wife and I, which is like a 3-hour drive. And I was probably
Mustang? What the fuck?
Yeah, I had a Mustang, a brand new off the line Mustang, 6-speed. Yeah, all black rims, tinted windows. I'll show you pictures. Well,
the whole part where you don't have it anymore, not so much. But
so here's the thing. So I had a really good job that paid really well. So I spent 3 years in Louisiana and went through 3 cars. So when I moved down to Louisiana, because
they didn't raise their drinking age until like 2004.
Well, I didn't get rid of the cars because. So I bought a brand new. When I moved down there,
are bullshit.
Yeah. So when I moved down there, I had an old Explorer. I gave the Explorer to my wife because the Explorer was paid off. And it was like a 2008, 2007 Explorer. I bought so this was what, January of 16. So I brought a brand new Chevy Silverado 1500.
I believe it's pronounced Silverado.
Silverado. I'm a Chevy guy. I love Chevys.
Okay.
So that had all of 16 miles on it.
If you're a Chevy guy, why you're getting to it? Why did you not get a Camaro?
Well, let me get to it.
Okay, he's getting to it.
So I bought that, and again, I paid to the principal on my car payment, and within a year owed less than what the car was worth. So I owed like a 15 grand on it, and the car was worth at that point like 35. And I was like, well, I'm going to trade this in and try and cash in on some of that equity I have in this car, which is very rare to do. Like you usually don't get equity into a car. I did. So I was like, I started shopping around, and I was like, the brand new GT Mustangs had just come out, and I was like, I've always wanted a Mustang. I wasn't so into like,
what year was this?
This was 2017. So I traded in my Silverado for a brand new Mustang 6-speed with.
It was a 5.0.
Yeah. With 6.
Because the GTs at one point,
they
put them out as 5.0s. They were.
It was nice.
Short throw shifter.
Yeah, and I lived in New Orleans at the time, so driving through New Orleans, so I lived on the North Shore in Mandeville, and my office was in New Orleans. That was a 45-minute drive without traffic. With traffic, it turned into like an hour and a half. And so when you get into New Orleans, I realized real fast, like, yeah, it's fun to have a Mustang when I'm out on the highway or on the back roads, and I can just let it go, right? When I'm driving this thing and I'm in stop and go traffic, in a line of traffic, in a stick, like, fucking shit sucks. So I had that thing for all of 8 months.
Like, fucking working your left leg.
Like, I was just clutch. Like, I would just be like, oh my God, this sucks.
Shift. Nobody gets a stick shift or an American sports car so they can go to New York City and sit in traffic.
Exactly. So I realized real fast that this was a dumbass decision to do. But I had the money, I had the ability, and I was like, fuck it, I'm doing it. Like, I'm going to do it once in my life. So I had it, and I was like, fuck this. So I traded that in and got the GMC Sierra that I have now. And I will not trade that in. I love that truck. That's my baby. Like, I'm going to pay that thing off. I may get a motorcycle.
That's why I still got that piece of shit 01 sitting out there. Because that's my baby.
So the Silverado and the GMC are the only two cars I've ever owned. When someone sits behind me, because I've got a crew cab, when someone sits behind me in it, I don't have to adjust my seat. That's how large the cab is.
That's nice.
And I prefer Chevy over Ford trucks. That's just me. I mean,
in my Cobra, I am going to do because now it needs.
Once I make millions of dollars and can afford a Cobra.
That's what's sitting out there.
Is that a Cobra? No. Yes. Oh, you're talking. I thought you were talking about a Shelby.
No, I mean, it's an SVT.
Oh, okay.
I guess the biggest difference is Shelby does a lot more bolt-ons. But that has a 7.
I don't know that much about cars, to be honest with you. Like the inner workings. Yeah. I know what I like. I know what I like to drive.
That's got a turbo on it.
I'm sure.
It's comparable to a Shelby. It's just a 01, so it's a Generation 4 body style. But once, because the battery in the Corolla blew up at one point, so I had to take the battery out of that car and put it in the Corolla, so now it don't even start. So I got to get a new battery. I got to upgrade the fuel line so it connects to the fuel pressure regulator that I got from On3. And once I do that, I'm going to do a rear seat delete. So what you said about people sitting behind you, I'm not, no. Because it's a 2-door. I can't stand that. I want to be able to go somewhere and somebody's like, "Oh, hey man, let me get a ride," and I'm like,
"Well, when I win the lottery, so I know what my dream car is." Now people are like, "Well, why don't you just fucking build it?" I was like, "Well, I don't know how to build a fucking car. Like, I don't have that knowledge base." But my dream car, when I win like the Powerball, or the Mega Millions, or whatever, and speaking of both of those big ass tickets, I lost. Bullshit. Fuck you, Maryland and Michigan.
That's what the lottery is, a tax on people who can't do math.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. When I buy a lottery ticket, I buy one number at a time. Like I'm not the guy who's like, give me $50 worth of lottery numbers. Like I'm not that guy. And I only start buying them once I get past a certain point. Like if it ever gets above 180 million, that's when I start buying.
Yeah.
So
that's when it would be worth.
That's when it's worth
after taxes, lump sum.
Yeah. So if it's 180 million, you win, and you're the sole winner. That you don't have to split with anyone. If you do lump sum after taxes, I believe it's like you'll get like 70 million, which is more than enough money. Like I don't need a lot. Like I'll pay off what little debt I have. And
go home.
Maybe renovate my house.
And sit around and do nothing.
No. I would go and buy I'd then either rent my current home that I live in. I'd either rent that out and lease it and go buy. My big dream is to buy property. That's my 10-year goal right now is to buy a home in the mountains or buy some land in the mountains and put a small cabin on it.
Yeah.
Just to go and have on the weekend. That's my retirement. That's where I'll go and retire. Buy 20, 30 acres so I can go out and play in the woods, have some four-wheelers, do some hunting. If I could have a river or a lake on it, that'd be great so I could do some fishing. That'd be my life. But if I won the lottery, I'd be all right, 100 acres. And then I would also buy a 1970 Chevelle Super Sport. That's my dream car. That is my dream car.
I support that decision.
Black with the white. You ever seen the movie The Faculty? Remember that? It's Josh Hartnett when he was really young. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers for the late 90s. Where the teachers get they be aliens go inside of them and everything. You don't remember this movie?
I need to see that movie,
dude. It's a great
sounds like it's
great late '90s movie for you to watch. It's got Josh Hartnett.
It's got that quality special effects.
Oh yeah, it's got the guy from T2. What's his name? Who was the new Terminator? Okay, when I say
I don't
new,
remember.
You remember the liquid Terminator from T2?
Fuck yeah.
That actor's in it. I can't remember his name. Jordana Brewster's in it. What's his name? Lord of the Rings. Guy from Lord of the Rings. Elijah Wood is in it.
Yeah.
This is late 90s though. This is 99, 98 movie. You need to watch. But he has a Chevelle. And I'm yes, that's my car.
That's the one.
That is it.
That's funny because
you should watch it. It's actually
dude, when you think about it, that car is not expensive.
Yeah, it's kind of expensive.
That one,
that's kind of expensive.
That one, but
I mean, I'm not dropping six figures for like I would for a Ferrari.
But that's what I'm saying.
Bentley.
So many people. You see,
I would not go get
entrepreneurs that go out and rent the cars. Look how much money I make. I got a Lamborghini. It's we don't even want that. I don't even want that. I've got my dream car sitting out there. Do you know what my dream car is? A paint job. That's all I want. Because the thing is, right now, it's not smart for me to spend the money. That thing needs tires. It needs a battery. I need to put it up and replace the fuel line. And once again,
there's some work that needs to go into it.
Yeah. So to me, it's not smart to paint it when I got all this other shit I got to do to it. That's my dream car. I have my dream car. Dude, if you were to take that out and sell it, in running condition, paint job, all that, all the shit I'm talking about, I think you'd be lucky if you could get $5,000 for it. Maybe.
What
10.
year is it?
It's an 01.
Oh yeah.
So
it hasn't reached classic status yet.
If
it will, I don't know if it ever will reach classic status.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
But a 70 Chevelle is a classic car. I mean, it is.
Well, the minimum I think for that is 20 years, right?
Something like that. I don't know.
And so
I don't know the rules.
But it's not automatic either.
No.
So, but I have the original certificate of authenticity. So it's one of 3,000 made.
I don't know.
So it's possible.
I don't know who gets to determine what is and what is not a classic. I don't know the procedures.
Sure it's a book.
Probably Kelly Blue Book or somebody. Look it up in Kelly Blue Book. See if it's a classic car.
But even if it does hit classic status, it doesn't fucking run. But I will keep that car.
So, but a frame, here's the thing. I have a friend of mine who is really into cars and loves building them. He builds cars and motorcycles, and he and I were talking about this one day, and I told him, and he's like, man, he's like, dude, if you just bought like a rusted shell of that thing, like no engine in it, it's rotted, it's rusted, it's like that'll still cost you 25 grand just for that. And I was like, why would that cost you so much? And he's like, because it's a classic car. Like,
but it's rare too. Because classic car, but it's also
it's also very rare.
They're not.
Well, they're not very rare, but like he's like, once you build, like so you buy it for 2025, and then you'll put another 25,000 in, you could probably sell it for 75, 80 after it was all said and done, or keep it and drive it. And I'm like, look, I'm like, if I'm getting my dream car, and I don't know how true any of that is. I mean, he could have been blowing smoke up my ass for all I know. So I don't know. When I look at value of cars, when I buy cars, I'm like, let me see. I do some research and see what the blue book value is and know kind of where to start from. But that's my dream car is, if I won the lottery, and the only way I'll ever be able to get it is if I win the lottery, because I've got other things that I'm working towards, like my land up in the Appalachian Mountains or like I'd love to be in the Rockies, but then I wouldn't be able to go see that on the weekends. Yeah, living here in North Carolina. Yeah, like if I live like, but I want a piece of land. Well, and when I say a small cabin, I mean like a small, like 700 square foot cabin, like off grid with like fireplace and just somewhere to go and relax on the weekends. And then when I retire, build an actual like regular house up there, like that has power and is more on the grid. But like, so on the weekends, I can go up there. Like I get off work Friday, drive up there, be up there in 2 hours. Saturday morning, wake up, go hunting, go fishing, go hiking, and just kind of unplug from the world. I love being outside and unplugged. It's great.
That's why you ended up in Louisiana, huh?
No, I ended up in Louisiana because the company I worked for transferred me there.
Oh, okay.
Promoted me, not transferred me. No, it wasn't there. It was a big promotion.
It was a big promotion, but you still had to move.
Yeah, which they paid for. And whatever money I didn't use, I kept.
I'm okay with that.
So they gave me, so my wife and I are very good at, like, my wife is way better at it than I am.
Yeah.
But like budgeting. So we got married. So our budget for our wedding was like $10,000.
Nice.
We spent maybe $7,500 on the entire wedding. So we still came in under budget. She's very good at, like, she came home with her wedding, and her wedding dress was beautiful. So when I say this, what I'm about to tell you, it wasn't like some cheap thing.
She pulled it off.
But she got her wedding dress for $500. And it was gorgeous. I mean, it was.
Fiance might need to talk to her.
She was like, I went to a thrift store. Like, she found it. There was like a wedding bridal thrift store or whatever, and she found it through them.
Like just hunting through it, just picking through, and was like, I like this one.
And then she got it. She took that to like a dress tailor or whatever, and had it fitted, and it all of it cost her like $500. And it was a gorgeous dress. I'll show you pictures of my wife in her wedding dress. I mean, it was fucking beautiful. And she did it for $500.
That's one reason.
The most money we spent on the entire wedding was on a photographer. We spent like $1,500 on a photographer.
That's crazy.
Because my wife's like, this is the one time in your life where you're going to have professional pictures taken. Because I don't like being
not
on
just
camera.
that, but you also don't want a photographer who, like, I had someone do professional shots one time, and they flew them in from Atlanta.
Yeah.
And they were taking pictures with a fucking iPhone.
Yeah, no.
So you don't want someone that's going to miss something, or...
It was a girl who was really, really good. Like, she wasn't a wedding photographer.
Yeah.
Like, she did wedding photography to help supplement some of her income, but she was an actual, like, artist, photography art, like, into that side of art, the art world. And she and her, I think it was like her boyfriend or fiance or husband or something, came in and They did really good. Like, they did a great job on the wedding photos. And I don't like being on camera. Like, this thing over here fucking bothers me.
That's crazy.
I hate being on camera.
Because you have been on this show more than anyone else.
Yeah, but I don't pay attention to it. I'm not going. Oh, see, now I'm looking over there and I'm like, when you sent me like, here's the trailer for the first episode, like my fat ass just popped up. I'm like, oh, I'm not even gonna watch that.
I fucking love that thing.
I fucking hate being on camera.
You say you are gonna lose friends over this.
Yeah, you're gonna lose. Yeah, there will be some love loss.
So your wedding photographer, $1,500.
That was what we spent the most money on. So we
knew what she was doing.
She knew what she was doing. She did a great job. So we did all of our wedding photos before the actual wedding.
Okay.
So, because my wife was like, it's going to be you and your friends and a few of your Marine buddies are going to be there. By the end of the night, you're going to be shit-faced drunk. She's like,
yes,
I do not want.
That is on.
She's like, I'm going to be shit-faced drunk. I do not want us to be in photos drunk. I was like, okay. So we got ready and everything, and then before the actual ceremony is when we went out and got our pictures. So that was the first time I saw my wife in her dress was for the photos. Wasn't when she walked down the aisle.
Doesn't hurt my feelings.
I mean, some people are like, "Oh, that's bad luck." I'm like, well, I mean, whatever. That's how
here we are. How many years later? So
I'm glad we did it because all my
fuck
groups.
You.
I did it. Yeah, 7 years later now. All my groomsmen were like, so I had a 6-pack of beer or 12-pack of beer and a bottle of Makers, and I had me and 4 groomsmen. All of that was drank within an hour.
How? I mean, what did you do after that? How would that be considered enough?
Well, that wasn't enough.
Groomsmen.
I thought the bottle. I thought the bottle of Makers would be enough, but
like, oh, this.
We went through like, or maybe it was a case, but we went through
an hour. You guys are like, fuck it.
Yeah, we were just sitting in a because well, it took her longer to get ready than us. Like we were ready. Like we got to the venue and we were ready. And
are you good? You good? I got it here. I should be home all day, but just text me. If I go anywhere, I'll leave it out there. I gotta get her a copy. She pays me for a room. I haven't gotten her a key yet.
My company does copies if you want to drive out to Carborough.
Fucking Carborough?
Yeah. If
you want me to go to Carborough for a goddamn...
I mean, it'll be free, but you'll spend more money in gas.
Go to Burke Brothers right across the street.
Pay the $6. It'll be done.
Yeah, like holy shit.
So we're
how about I give it to you? You make the copy, and then
you won't have a key for like a week.
When I see you in another week,
be like, when I see you next week, and you can give me the copy back.
I'll probably just spend the $6 fucking. Like, God damn.
Hey, deal's a deal, man.
I appreciate the offer.
Last time I offered you any kind of discount,
I feel like Carborough's
actually. Before we get back into the wedding story, Carborough's actually a cool town.
I like Carborough.
I always thought it was a little too granola for me.
Yes.
And then I lived in Denver for a little while, and I was like, all right, it's kind of like a small Denver.
I agree with that. I don't like when I lived on Smith Level Road going to the mailbox to get my mail and seeing a poster, an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper on why killing deer, like hunting, doesn't reduce the deer population. I'm pretty sure you're bad at math. Because if you kill one of anything, that's one less than was there before.
That's weird, people. So here's what I...
That's UNC Chapel Hill bullshit. That's what that is.
That's people wanting everybody to be like them. That's exactly what it is.
But Carborough, I like Carborough.
What is crazy about like going out to like Carborough and Hillsborough is like you drive and like you are like on these country roads, like especially once you get out of like the city center area. Well, when I say city center, I use that term very loosely. It's more like a town.
Yeah.
But once you get out into the countryside, you're still in the town, the city, or whatever, the municipality proper.
Yeah.
But you're out in the country, like, and it's beautiful country out there, like lots of rolling hills, lots of rivers, or not rivers, but lots of, you know, creeks and brooks and all of that shit. And you drive and you see, like, if you were in any other part of the South, you'd be like, I am in redneck central.
Yeah.
But you're driving past these farms that are sitting on, you know, 10 acres, 15 acres. They have cows and horses, chickens, and you can see them. And then they have like Biden-Harris signs.
Yeah.
Or like Black Lives Matter signs. And you're like, I am in the country right now. And this is what I'm saying. Not something you associate with people who live in these types of rural areas. But that's just, but once you get into, like, let's say you keep going north and you get into like north of Mebane, like into Efland. You know where Efland is?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So you go up there into those farm areas and it's like stars and bars are flying everywhere.
Yep.
Like you're kind of like, oh, now I'm in redneck territory. This is where the clan meets. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
It's nuts. Like driving around up there, you kind of like, because I go out on deliveries with my company and I'm like, I'll be sitting there and I'll be with the driver and I'll be just, you know, enjoying the country drive. And I'm like, here's a farm with a Biden-Harris and a rainbow flag and the equal rights symbol and black light. And it's not something you'd expect to see that far out from the city center.
This is the Veteran Talk Show. If you or someone you love is suffering as a victim of sexual harassment, sexual assault, needs help with addiction and recovery, or mental health and well-being, then please go to veterantalkshow.com/resources. This show is hosted, produced, and edited by Ryan Smeltz. Our co-host is Joe Balak, and a guest starring veterans.